Well, that was unexpected. Podsters, when I first invited Crystal onto the show today, I expected to talk to her for about 20 or 30 minutes, talk a little bit about her transformation from corporate executive to fitness instructor to now, I would call her an empowerment coach. She helps women really step into authentic empowerment and transformation. And when I say transformation, you're going to see, I mean, transformation. We're not talking about a band-aid here. And we go through all the things, so many, in fact, that I had to write them down so I'd remember them. We talk about her journey and how she went from an identity rooted in accomplishment and living up to other people's expectations to playing into her own strengths, stepping into her power, living each day with peace and joy and thriving. We talk about how when your wellness becomes something that you check off the list, you're missing the point, which was a really interesting moment and a learning for me, or an aha moment for me. How to stop worrying about the next step and really, really be present where you are now. Why we let ourselves play small. We talk about the mind, body, soul connection and how it's all connected. And when you're talking about wellness, we talk about mind, body, and soul. And then we touch briefly on the 6 components or pillars, as I like to call them, of wellness. Crystal Ellis of Crystal Clear Wellness, man, she brought it today. And we had such a great conversation, a lot of surprises along the way. And I'm going to stop talking and pass it over to you so that you can listen and benefit from this incredible, incredible episode. Thank you to Crystal. And by the way, if you like this episode, shoot me a note, let me know. We can get her excited and she'll come back and talk about the rest of it. And we're back. I am so excited. I actually might get choked up because Crystal, I am so excited to have you and I am so proud of you and where you've taken your business and the goodness that you are putting out into the world. I think it's fantastic. But let me introduce you so people know who you are. Crystal is the founder of Crystal Clear Wellness. And basically, I'm gonna summarize and tell me if I get this right. Crystal works with women to empower them, to step into their authenticity, to find what lights their soul on fire, and to live a life with intention and transformation.
You nailed it. That was
I
great.
just made that up. I mean,
That was great.
that's awesome. I would actually also say Crystal is like the softer side of Nancy. Like you do it with, let's do some yoga, let's talk to our inner child, let's do some journaling, which I am not mocking that. You are the first guest on the Thrive Hive podcast, and there's a reason, because I love everything you're doing. And Crystal does it that way. I do it a little different, but both work, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take my sweater off. It's hot. All right. So let's chat. Tell us a little bit about, tell us a little bit about your background. And when I say your background, I mean your career, your family, your business, like give us all the things.
Okay. So my background is constant change, which has brought me to today.
I love that.
I've done it all. I went to school for business. I climbed the corporate ladder. I worked in a lot of different industries, wore a lot of different hats. I was always the most productive, the person who said yes to everything, everyone. I did all the hobbies as well, ran all the races, bike rides, like achieve, 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 goal, check, check, check. I didn't used to journal all the time. I didn't used to do all the things I do now, although I kind of did as a kid. But essentially, I loved I love working, so that's always been an identity for me. And it was really hard for me to start to strip that away because it was like, who am I without that? Who am I without these identities?
So can I pause you
Yeah,
for one
yeah,
second?
please.
So I just lit up when you said that. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, I had to jump in here. This is a really big part of why I rebranded and changed my business a little bit, because when you strip away, I'm a vice president, I'm director of whatever, many of us have no idea. And when I left my 25-year career with Marriott, I remember I used to introduce myself. Someone would say, "What do you do?" And I caught myself saying, "Well, I was with Mary for 25 years and now I'm doing this." And I remember saying to myself, "What are you doing?" And then I saw some friends do the same thing. So I love that you brought that up. Tell me about, so you were thinking about who am I when you strip away all the titles, right?
Totally. And I honestly catch myself still doing that same thing you just mentioned of like, this is who I was, right? Like even the accomplishment, like I was so, my identity was so rooted in accomplishing
Hmm.
and I was really good at it, but I just wasn't fulfilled inside. I realized that I had been living to meet expectations outside of myself my whole entire life since as long as I could remember, is even as a child. I mean, it goes way, way back. So COVID was the start of the transformation for me. I think a lot of us had some major pivots during that time, especially for someone like me who was newly single, like literally broke up with my boyfriend that I was living with the week before lockdown. I was in a home that I had bought 5 years prior, still pretty deep in renovations. And I was working full time. And when COVID hit, I was the single person with no children, no dog, and I was accessible 24/7. And I didn't know how to say no. And I did. I was depleted. I spent a lot of time during COVID sitting with myself.
Mhm.
And I had avoided that my whole life. And it was hard. It was really hard. But that's really what started kind of that questioning in my mind of like, why am I doing this? Where is this going? Do I even like this? Do I even care about this? And that's when I signed up for yoga teacher training. And believe me, I was the person who used to leave during Shavasana. I went to yoga for probably like 15 years leading up to that. I went as a stretch to complement my other workouts, to complement my training. I was always on a training plan. And Shavasana was excruciating. It was like, what is the point of this? There's so much to do. I have to get out of here. I would quietly roll up my mat and pretend I had a meeting. So I didn't really know why I was signing up for yoga training, but I was, after that last breakup with the ex and doing more yoga again, I realized I was really seeking something deeper. And again, I didn't know what it was, but I was like, you know what? I am a fitness instructor. I forgot to mention that. So I had been teaching spin classes and boot camp and strength and like all the yang, all the movement for about 14 years. And I was like, well, yeah, I could add yoga to the mix. This could be really interesting. Not knowing why I was taking this 200-hour yoga training over 6 months of my life, I realized during that training that there was so much more to life that I was missing, like so much more. My heart was closed. I was so disconnected from my body. I did everything in my head. And I know I'm in my head. I've been doing personality tests as long as I can remember. I'm obsessed with them. Like I love learning about who I am. And for the longest time, I thought that was as a way to label me and like put me in a box and be like, oh, great, these are my strengths. Good to know. Oh, I'm color yellow. Yay. I realized that wasn't it at all. It was about knowing that information so I could really play up my strengths and learn about my weaknesses and my growth points. So as I started to go through the yoga training and start to like relook at these lenses in a new way, I started to find my own like inner power that I didn't even know existed. And then we actually started working together around that time. It was like a couple months into yoga training. And I was working, oh wait, I'm missing my timeline. Where did this all happen? COVID was
So
such a blip.
can we pause for a second before we
Yeah,
get into that? Because I
yeah.
have, look at all these notes I have from everything
I
you
know.
just said.
Sorry, I
Okay.
jumped right in.
No, it's fantastic because this is why I am so excited that you're the first guest on the Thrive High podcast. Everything you're talking about ties in.
Yep.
So identity rooted in accomplishment.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. I'm not bashing men. Do you think this is more prevalent with women?
100%. And believe me, I really struggled with deciding what my kind of target and niche was going to be. I wanted
Mhm.
to be inclusive. I went
Uh-huh.
through really, really intensive corporate inclusivity trainings where I felt
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I can't leave out a demographic here. But why I'm focusing on women is for that exact reason. I don't think men are as wound up or tied up in
Yep.
identity in that
Yep.
way.
Yep.
I also don't think they're pulled outside of themselves as much. I think women are wear a lot more hats than men. I think they tend to have more identities and they tend to people please a little bit more. And
Mhm.
it just, yeah, I don't think it's as prominent with men.
It's not. It's not. Okay. So when you were talking about Shavasana being excruciating, first of all, I laughed because that is my favorite part of yoga. I actually went to a 2 hour workshop and it was yin combined with yoga nidra, which is
Beautiful.
basically like you lay down and breathe for an hour. I'm like, okay, this could not be more fantastic. And I loved it. My point is, but what I wanted to ask you was what, when you were, as part of this yoga training, what made you notice that there's more to life?
It was the slowing down and realizing that, like, when was constantly staying busy, I felt like there was never enough time. And I still find myself getting in those moments now. It doesn't go away, right? I just catch myself sooner. But it was in the slowing down and just appreciating those little things. And I know we all talk about gratitude, like gratitude, be grateful. Sometimes gratitude works, sometimes it doesn't.
Hmm?
But for me, it was kind of like the embodiment. I guess I've been talking about that a lot lately, the embodiment, because a lot of us are in our head a lot. And it's one thing to think things like, oh, I got to do my rituals today. I got to do my meditation. When it becomes a to-do list, you took the whole point away. It- so it's really embodying and being present. So that's what yoga brought to me was a presence that I thought I was doing in my head, but I was not in my body.
Because you
I
were checking the box.
was checking the box.
Okay, so I want to repeat what you just said because this is a fantastic nugget. When it becomes a to-do list, you're missing the whole point.
Hmm.
So when you wake up and you say, I have to journal, and then I have to go have my tea or whatever, and then I have to do my 10 minutes of meditation, check, 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 you're missing it.
Hmm.
It's pretty deep.
It is. And I knew I was doing that for a long time. It's not an overnight shift. I mean, this was like prior to COVID. For me, life is kind of before or after COVID at
Mhm.
this point as a
Yeah.
ref. But I remember, leading up to it, I was working with like a therapist slash life coach at the time. And she used to tell me, she knew I was doing that. She's like, it can't become a to-do list. I couldn't break away from it. I tried. I really tried. The problem was I had never learned how to not do that. So when
Huh.
you have never lived in your body and you've never lived with heart, how do you know how to do that? And it took a 200 hours in yoga
So
training.
do you think it was like hour 199? Were you like, or was it like hour 10? I don't know. Halfway through,
Yeah,
like, I
it's
mean,
it takes a while, and that's I hate to jump ahead, but like this is really why I am so called to have this mission now because I'm actually just wrapping up my 300-hour yoga training, and I've done a few in between. So I've done
mhm.
probably like close to 1,000 hours of either yoga training or teaching or classes, just things like that. And I have just learned so freaking much. And I know not everyone's a yogi. I still don't call myself. We used to laugh about this when we first started together. I'm the yogi who loves spreadsheets, and I
Yep.
still do. I'm never going to change that. I'm always going to be analytical. I'm always going to be strategic. I'm always going to be type A. And I hate to even say type A because that's such like again, a label, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not
Task
good or bad.
oriented, right? Like,
Right.
right. Yeah. I'm so glad you said it because what I was going to say is for those of you that are listening and you're like, yeah, 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 it's all easy to find your inner peace when you're a yoga instructor. Crystal, so you had a corporate career.
Mhm.
When we started working together, you were on that hamster wheel. You were like the captain of the corporate hamster wheel.
Mhm.
And so, this isn't like peace, love, and tie dye. Let's go manifest abundance on a mountaintop. You walk the talk and you said, this doesn't work for me anymore. So it sounds like when you were involved in all of this yoga teacher training, that's when you realized, okay, I'm not present in my body. Like I'm disconnected from everything. And did you think to yourself, I need to make a change?
I That's the thing I didn't think. For the first time, I didn't think myself through the next step.
Huh.
I think that's what shifted. My whole life, I had analyzed every decision. Does this make sense? Is this the right title? Is this a step up? Is this, fit in my life? Is this more money? It was like this uphill progression I had always been looking for in life. And during my yoga training, that was the first time I stopped worrying about the next step.
Hmm.
I just really embraced, like, I don't know where I'm going with this yoga training. It felt like it was, therapy, personal development, like mind, body, soul work, like all rolled up. I mean, I always say, I think everyone in their lifetime should experience being a waitress or something in customer service and experiencing some level of like a yoga training. I just think they make you a good person and they make you able to have more compassion for yourself and other people. And I think that's underappreciated. I think we put so much pressure on the resume and on the accomplishments and on, the brands you've worked for or the certifications you have. And those are great. I'm not knocking them at all. But I do think there's something to life experience and there's something to self-awareness that we just don't put enough attention on.
I love it. I love it. I agree. So let's get back to, because I want to talk about, I don't know if you remember this, you might. We were working together and I want to talk about how you found me and kind of like the work we did together in a minute. And I didn't know I wasn't even going to bring this up. So I think this is cool. So Podsters, for those of you that are listening, Crystal and I worked together, it was like 3 years ago, maybe more than that.
Yeah, it was, no, I remember dates again. It was 2 or 3, yeah, 2 or 3 years
Yep.
ago.
And I knew the minute I spoke to you on the phone, I knew it. I'm like, this, she's going to do it. She's going to do it. I just need to like help her tweak a few things and she's going to do it. I remember there was a point where we had worked together for probably like 8 weeks and you were so ready to leave. Like you were going to quit that day. You're like, I'm done. I'm like, okay, well, we've been laying the foundation. That's cool. Understand that you're not going to have health insurance. You're not going to have this, and that's great. We have your exit strategy. Might be a little early, so make sure you're really sure. Did you actually resign that day? And if not, I'm trying to think like what was the catalyst for you to say, I am done with the corporate world. That's it. I'm done. Like what was that moment like?
So I did hold on a little bit longer. And at that
Right.
point, I was working for a startup. So I had left corporate before we worked together. So like I had taken a huge leap
Yep.
by working for a startup. And it was actually the boss or the owner of this company I met in yoga teacher training. So it felt like divine, like universal, like this is
Mhm.
my next path. And I realized after a year in that company that this was just a stepping stone and this was not my mission. I was building someone else's dream again. I was living for someone else again. And I wasn't stepping into my full self. So
Mhm.
we started working together when I was kind of like getting really burnt out in that job, not knowing where I was going to go. And you really helped me get clear on what I loved and that like what I loved could be a job. Because I remember our first conversations where you were breaking that down. Crystal, why can't this be what you do? And I'm like, because it's not a job. She's like, you're like, why? Because it's not hard, because it's not like, what is this? So you really, our first conversations together, were you helping me break down all of those like limiting beliefs I had and all these cultural norms that I didn't even know I had. And so as we worked together, things just got really toxic in my current job at the time. And I realized that it wasn't my path. And I got so excited about what I was building. I was ready to jump, but I did not have a net. At that point, I had been living really lean working for a startup as it was. I already broke away from a lot of benefits and security that I had. So I was like kind of halfway there. So I held on for a couple weeks. I remember one day I almost quit. You talked me out of it. I was so close because I just felt like I think it also opened up the gates of like I'm not valued. Like I am worth so much more. And that was just like too loud inside of me. I couldn't take another day feeling
Mhm.
like I was being put in a box and underappreciated. So that's like it was the feelings that like was like a floodgate for me. I held on, I think, for maybe 2 weeks. And then what I ended up doing was getting a waitressing job at that time.
Yep. I remember.
Um, I got a waitressing job. The second they offered it, I quit. I gave my 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, and I was out. And by the way, I hate waitressing. I didn't like it when I did it in my teens and college years, but it was like I knew that was a means for me to get to my dream. I didn't care what I had to do. That's how like lit up and
Yes.
excited I was. So I did that and I only did it for 5 months. 5 months, I waitress part-time while I started to build things.
And I think this is important to note. So, a couple of things. when you did leave, because I don't believe anybody should stay in a job that's toxic. And at the same time, I know firsthand, once you leave, you're leaving a lot behind. So make sure your plan is ready. Your plan wasn't quite ready. So you had a little bridge. You're like, okay, I'll go waitress for 5 months and then, or whatever, I'll waitress for the summer, or whatever it was. And I rarely tell someone, I think you might want to tap the brakes a little bit. I rarely do that. But what I saw happen was you went from, oh, I couldn't possibly do this all day and get paid for doing it to, oh yeah, no, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay for it. I want to start doing it right now, right now, right now. So it was great because you went from no, I can't to yes, I can. And then you were like, forget it. I'm done. I'm going to do this bridge. And at the same time, we were laying the foundation for crystal clear wellness.
Yep.
The reason why I wanted to mention that was because once you understand that you have options, your whole life changes. Your whole life changes. Your whole life changes. And I just think it's such a fun story. I just think
Yeah.
it's just such a fun story. Anyway, so you left, you waitressed for a little while. And what were you doing while you were waitressing? Because I think this is important. What else were you doing?
So I started Crystal Clear Wellness actually started with me doing some consulting work for wellness businesses. So I
Mhm.
kind of started like flipped. And we knew working together in the beginning too. My passion, my heart was like to do the retreats and the workshops and teaching. And that was where I was most lit up. But my brain was like only halfway there.
Yep.
So my comfort zone was still to do some business projects. So what I started with was focusing on wellness businesses, but that helping them on the business side,
Right.
while I still continued to start to do workshops and some of it. So it was kind of like a hybrid, and it still is right now. But I've scaled way back. It's
Yeah.
like the algorithm has like almost fully flopped, and in the next 6 months, I expect I'm 100% on the side that we knew I would get to. But I guess the lesson for me there was I had to do it in my on my terms. I had to like I wasn't quite ready, right? So like I found the model that works for me that was a little bit of a hybrid where I had just enough comfort while I got even further outside of my comfort zone. And I also am really good at the other side, so it's something that I'm like, I think I'm always going to have a level of that. I could see myself doing it more even another 5 or 10 years down the line
Sure.
once I
Yeah.
have this experience. But ultimately, I just continue to ask myself, why? Right. So the couple of clients I'm still working with, it's because they align. They align with the mission I have. They are, growth mindset. They are, in the wellness space. They are women. So it's like, if the mission aligns, I think there's more flexibility sometimes to it. But it's just really making sure you don't say yes to the things that aren't in alignment because it's so easy to do.
It is. And the thing about the consulting, as we're calling it, or the business coaching, whatever, is it's circular. Sometimes you'll need some fresh cash for your business. That just is what it is. Sometimes you'll be in a valley and you'll be like, you know what, I'll pick up a couple more consulting clients. That's fine because you
Yep.
like it, you want to help them.
Yep.
They're in your industry and you're good at it. Really, you're empowering them. If
Totally.
you're all about empowerment, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it still all sits for sure. So my resistance to stepping into the other side of being like an empowerment coach myself was to be the face, to be front and center, to promote myself.
Oh yeah.
I loved playing like VP, second in command, do all the work, build the other person, build the brand, build the person, like second, like I didn't want to be the center of attention.
Mhm.
And everyone should be the center of attention. Like that's just again a societal thing. It's like, oh, I'm an introvert. Oh, this, I'm that. Again, these labels we put on ourselves. And I'm like, this is crap. But yet I knew I was keeping myself small. And I
Mhm.
and I didn't feel fulfilled still.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I just think we have to again ask ourselves, why are we playing small? Where is that coming from? And and I mean, this trajectory for me lately has been a lot of, I have some personal things that I've just gone through in the past year that have just brought that spectrum of change. Like I said, my constant has been change, and it will be for the rest of my life
Mhm.
because I love learning. I love growing. I love evolving. I love constantly striving to be better. I am never going to just be, this is what I do and that's it. It's not how I work. It's not
Mhm.
how I'm wired. It's not, and now I know it's not just my head, it's my heart and my body too. We're all in alignment here. And we're all on the same trajectory.
I'm taking notes. Head, heart, and body. This is amazing. Let me ask you this, and if you don't want to go there, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Why do you think you were playing small?
Well, this goes to inner child a little bit, if we
I'm,
want to
I'm
dive
not
into
against
that
the inner
stuff.
child because it's interesting. So you
Yeah.
say you talk about why you were think you're playing inner small, and then I'll talk about why I think I was playing small. Okay.
So I have a few things on this. One is I've been really deep into soul work too. I do believe in past lives. I do
Mhm.
believe in reincarnation. I do believe that we choose our parents. I do
Ooh,
believe that
interesting.
the challenges we go through are so that we can learn and like step into. I'm at that midlife. I hate to say midlife because I want to live like to be more than 100 at this point, but I'm at this point in my life where I no longer, not that I was ever the victim, but I know there were stories where I'm like, oh, why is this happening to me? I think we all do a little bit, but I'm at
Mhm.
this point in my life where I can truly say that everything that has happened to me, I have learned from. I have learned something. I just in December and she does this all the time. She's such an inspiration for me and she's very into the soul work too. I've usually done it in situations when something transformational happens, especially when you didn't choose it, it feels like crap. But I've usually asked myself, okay, what's a lesson? Where can I evolve from this? So I've gone even deeper into that and now thought about my trajectory so far in life and what has been in front of me. And I don't have any regrets either, by the way. I'm not someone who, there's certain things, yeah, now knowing what I know, maybe I would have chose differently. In the moment, I've always chosen
Right.
what I thought was right. So for me, the whole keeping myself small was me avoiding some really hard things for myself. It was my darkness. It
Mhm.
was my own inner, like, kind of trauma, lack of healing, not wanting to deal with things. Childhood, my parents, I lost my dad in the start of the year. That's been a big proponent of me going deeper into this as well. It's a huge part of my healing process. It's not for everybody, but it is like literally it- like I must. It's like it's bringing me so much peace and inspiration and fulfillment. But essentially, there are some things I went through in childhood, and we all have trauma, by the way. When we're born, that's trauma.
Of course.
So I
Yeah.
think sometimes we think trauma has to be something like,
Like
all
a
the
made for TV movie. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not. We've all been through trauma. And in our own mind, it depends on what our framework is. It's trauma to us. That's the most important part too, right? Like you can't compare your trauma to other people. We've all had trauma. And we don't need to carry that. And a lot of us do. We kind of stuff it down. We want to like hide the shadow side. And for me, I've really, really come to appreciate my whole self
Hmm.
and not label things as good or bad. So one thing I've personally gone through as well is it's almost been a year. I quit drinking. I quit drinking.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. Quit cold turkey. And it was not because I was an alcoholic and had to go to AA or had to go to rehab. It was a calling for me because I was seeking clarity,
Hmm.
inner alignment, purpose, wellness. I wanted to be this person who is living their best life, and it just felt like it didn't fit in my life anymore.
Hmm.
So it was
Hmm.
a personal decision. I don't judge anyone else. I say this all the time. I love a tequila soda. I love an IPA. I still like breweries. I just had to cut it out for me because I had spent 25 years feeling shitty, and sorry for the swear, feeling crappy about myself when I had drinks because alcoholism was very prevalent in my family
Hmm.
and with my dad especially. And I quit about 6 months before he passed away. He did not know, yet he must have known. We did not talk about it. So this has been a crazy year for me. Divine timing in making a huge, I mean, that it has not been easy. Every day of my life, I've just chosen not to have a drink today. It has not been easy. Socially, culturally, it's everywhere. It's at bowling alleys with the kids, it's at the
Yeah.
movie theater, it's everywhere.
Mhm.
And again, I don't want
Mhm.
to go on a soapbox and talk too long on this topic because it's, but it's important to me because it is, I think we all have a vice and we all have something we hide behind. It doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be shopping. It could be eating.
The buffer.
A
It's a
lot of,
buffer.
but for me, that was one of the things that was making me feel small, was
Mhm.
not owning my story, was not facing these hard truths. And again, this karmic soul work for me, I felt like I was the person that needed to choose different. I had to break the cycle for me. I don't have children myself. I may not. I'm again putting that out to the soul, to the universe. I have a niece and nephew, and I wanted them to see that they could choose or not. I wanted them to see life
Yeah.
with someone who just it wasn't a part of their life. And again, it wasn't the traditional story. It was just like they cut it out to be healthier. So that's been a big calling. And the other thing was just fear in general. I was fearful of what if people don't like me? And I know you talk about this a lot too. I just remember a recent, I love your emails. I love your marketing. It always
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
it resonates. But you had just shared a story recently about like, they're not going to like, who cares? Or something.
Yeah, people are going to judge you anyway. People are
Yeah,
going to judge
yeah.
you no matter what you
You
do,
learn
so you
it.
might as
Yeah,
well do what you
yeah,
love, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that fear, that has been a top fear of mine for a very long time. And I think losing my dad, cutting out the alcohol, like those were just two major,
Mm.
major life events for me that made me realize what am I waiting for? And my heart has been broken more than I thought was possible. And I have gone through, I mean, changing careers was hard. Working for a startup was hard. Starting my own business was hard. But cutting out drinking was like a whole nother thing. And losing my dad was like a whole nut, like I feel like in breakups, relationships, I just feel like I've gone through this transformation in every area of my life. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about good or bad. Again, it's just an evolution and a journey that I'm on that I'll be on for the rest of my life.
Hmm. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. Notice my eyes are tearing up. I don't know if you can see that. So, Podsters, what you might not know is I'm going to get choked up. Let me come back to this because I couldn't leave. Okay, what you don't know, Podsters, is I went to leave Crystal a voice text. Oh, I couldn't leave it. I was
Uh,
sobbing. Was I sobbing on the text message? I mean, I was pretty close.
you
I'm
were
like,
close. Yeah. I
I'm
think
like,
you
I'm gonna come
snapped and
back
came back. Yeah.
because I was trying to be strong for you, but I
Yeah.
know, like, you're just never the same again. You're
No,
not. Talk
no.
about instant clarity, man. It's like
Hmm.
we think we have control. We
Hmm.
control nothing.
Hmm.
Nothing. It is over in a second. And that is a massive wake up call for a lot of people. Like,
It's 100%.
but I want to go back to the quitting drinking. So, because I do believe, so I'm going to say this knowing I drink. I believe anybody who drinks, I'm trying to think how to say this. If you drink alcohol, anybody that drinks alcohol has a drinking problem, in my opinion. Would you inject a toxin into your veins? Would you inject a toxin into your veins would you inject Vaseline into your veins to help you have a better time? You would not. And alcohol is a toxin. Again, I'm the queen of the rosé sancerre. I love the margaritas, like all of it, but
Yeah.
it's a choice. And I do it knowing that this is not good for my body. It is not good for my mind. Really nothing good is going to come from this.
Yep.
And yet it helps me cope. It
Yep.
helps me cope. So my question for you is, you decided to stop drinking cold turkey. So how did you cope with the incredible grief of losing a parent without, I mean, I had a Xanax before my dad's funeral. I mean, at least one, maybe two, because I'm like, no. So what do you do to cope?
Well, I think part of me, honestly, I thought that whole experience was it was frightening, right? Because I didn't know what I might do. And I allowed myself grace through it to feel in the moment. And there were a couple times where I said, you know what, screw it. I might just have a little bit of wine at this event or that event or to cope because it was so hard. And because everyone around me, every single person at the celebration of life, there was 250 people that came. Almost every person had a drink. I, through all of it though, again, this is just my own soul work and my own just clarity on my path. I already had this kind of like awakening for myself that this had to go. And I watched my dad those last 6 months, and I was worried for him. I knew he was, my body, my head didn't know, my body knew I didn't have long. I almost sensed the end was coming.
Really?
Even though he was, there was no like medical, like there was no, he just, the lifestyle caught up to him. I'll say that. The lifestyle caught up to him. He was still working 2 jobs. He still was running a company. He was so successful, so talented, so talented. And he was about to be 70. He was still working 2 companies all the time. He was drinking to cope a lot, and it was more and more. And he wasn't eating well, and he wasn't taking care of his body, and he wasn't feeling emotions. They only came out when he drank too much, and it was anger.
Mhm.
And I just saw this really unhealthy, and I knew this for a while. Over the years, especially COVID was a turning point for me in one direction and my dad in another.
Mhm.
And
And you were
he
very close. I think you
very,
very, very close,
very
right? Yeah.
close. At the end, I didn't feel as close, and I've come to terms with that. It's been a really, really hard journey. A lot of acceptance, a lot
Tough.
of
Yeah.
surrender, a lot of healing. I have been so deep into it, and that's the only reason I can say it without crying is because I've had so much clarity and peace. And I it's not over. Again, I'm not trying to get to the other side. I'm just embracing every moment. It's really all
No.
you can do. But
Yeah.
I guess for me, the calling got even louder. Watching my dad at the end, seeing him suffering, and knowing he did truly have a disease that he could not get a handle on. And I knew he wasn't going to stop. He was almost 70. He wasn't going to make a change. So part of me wished at first that I had been more honest with my experience and my choice and my new path. Part of me knows I was protecting myself and that there was nothing I could have done. So I'm staying with that. And he knows now. And he's healed now and he's at peace and he's his best self and his soul right now. And I knew after his passing, I wanted to drink because it would have been easier in the moment, but I knew the moments after would be even harder. And then I'd feel worse about myself. And it was such a clear choice for me that I knew was bringing me to my like next chapter.
Mhm.
I couldn't ruin that for myself. I deserve better. It was like the self-worth was so strong for me that I hadn't had. I drank when I felt bad. I drank when I felt good. I drank when I felt anxious. And I always wanted more than one. That was my honest truth. I asked myself towards quitting, I asked myself, do you want just one? No. I want to drink to feel, I wanted to drink to get out of my head. And again, this is me and my personality self-discovery lens because I've done every test under the sun, and this is a big part of my work too, is diving into this with women, is most of my wiring is head-based. It is what it is. And it's actually like I'm more likely to have addictions or to be driven to those things because it helps me. So what kept me rooted and on this path was just continuing to ask myself why, continuing to prioritize my own health, my own mental well-being, my own clarity, and knowing that I deserved better and I could do this. It was just going to be hard. And I still feel all the feels. I mean, I cry almost every morning, to be honest. I get up earlier. Right now that the weather's getting nicer, it's beautiful because it's sunny out and it's way less depressing than the winter was. But I cry every day. I cry for my dad. I cry because I miss him. I cry because he couldn't heal. He couldn't do different. And I cry for the pain he was in. I cry for my ancestors, like generations before that. I mean, I'm really deep into this work. I know it's not for everyone, but I just really believe in it. And I think it's so empowering and healing. And that's why I'm here.
That's awesome. Okay. Wow. So got a lot here, but this is a great segue. So tell me about, I went on your website and I want to get the phrase right because I don't want to mess this up. Authentic empowerment and transformation. So what did that mean to you?
Yes, I know. This is why I'm still working on refining my
Oh,
marketing and
I think it's fantastic.
no, 'cause it's hard to explain. I was just chatting with my sister about it yesterday because I just made her go through one of my offerings with me because I knew she could benefit from it too. So it was like,
Is this the Wednesday? Is this the weekday Wednesday ritual?
no, this is my soul blueprint session.
Okay.
So
I'm
really,
signing up for the weekly Wednesday ritual.
yeah,
Please continue.
okay.
Yeah,
Love
go
it.
ahead.
We're gonna do a soul blueprint too. My sister was just saying, we're very we're sisters. We have a lot of similarities, but we're polar opposites in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So one
Yes.
of the things she's been, vocalizing lately, I'm like, you do, and I know it's hard when it's your own big sister coming at you, but I'm like, I try not to force things, but I'm like, I really think I can actually help you. Can you please sign up for a session? Because these things you're complaining about, I can totally like help you. And I know you look at me like I'm over here and you're over here, but I don't give you what I'm doing. I give you what works for you.
Right.
And
So,
so we
yeah.
great session together.
So what is it? Tell us what it is, because I
So,
want,
yeah.
this is the Thrive Hive. So what is it? The soul
So,
blueprints. Yeah.
yeah. So authentic empowerment. It is fully, fully understanding yourself. Again, the mind, body, and soul is what I will always come back to, and that's very rooted in yoga. This is why I love and hate yoga. Still, I am the yoga teacher who admits I don't necessarily love it. Some days I hate going. Some days I don't want to slow down. Some days I don't want to breathe and meditate.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of days, in fact. But I do it because if you don't, then you're going to continue to stay up here. So for me, what authentic empowerment and transformation is a lot of it is rooted in yoga as a lifestyle. You don't have to go to hot yoga and be, flexi bendy and do a headstand. And I don't do that stuff. I could care less. I don't go to yoga for those reasons. What the authentic empowerment is just really understanding yourself, how you're wired, and using that as a tool of of empowerment and confidence, like inner confidence, not outer confidence. We can all have that, but like truly feeling it. So you don't have to fake it till you make it, because you're it. You're it. You're not wearing one hat and another. And I think we over identify ourselves with our roles and our hats.
Mm-hmm.
Authentic empowerment is kind of taking that away and coming down to actually just who are you? And a lot of people, like we were saying, don't know that. It's
Mm-hmm.
scary. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's hard for me to sometimes even sell what I'm doing, because you want to make things easy for people and say, oh, here's the quick fix. This isn't necessarily a quick fix, but a quick fix is going to keep you stuck. You're going to come back.
Right.
This is like long-term growth. This is transformation. This is like being lit up and being so tuned into, like, you're fulfilled when you're truly listening to your heart, mind, and body. We become unfulfilled when we keep kind of chasing these things outside of ourselves. So this authentic empowerment and transformation is just really about slowing down, finding these like safe spaces to be able to get out of our day to day, to reflect, to breathe, to find some gentle movement. We hold a lot in our body. So I like to move energy. For me, it's moving some energy,
Love
getting
it.
real with ourselves, and coming back into alignment.
I love that. And it's interesting you mentioned this, because, and then I want to talk about the soul blueprint, and then I want to talk about the rituals. Basically, I want to talk all afternoon. Um,
Me too. Me too. I'm here for it.
so by we, I mean me and Danny, the past 10 weeks have been pretty strenuous and stressful. And about 3 days ago, I'm like, God, my lower back is hurting. My lower back is starting to hurt. And I know what's coming. I know what's coming. If I do not pay attention, I will throw out my back and I will be in incredible pain and it will be awful, right? And so last night, I'm like, that's it. I busted out a yoga mat right here on the floor while I was watching Reacher on Prime Video, because I love me some Reacher on Prime Video. And I couldn't fit it in perfect. Like, I couldn't go to the 2 hour workshop. I'm like, I'm just going to do it here. And I did some of my yoga moves. And, for me at the time, that's what I needed to do. I needed to get my body moving. And I'm like, okay, I feel a little better. I'll do longer today and I'll get back into it. I heard a term, or I heard an expression a while ago, and it was the yoga pose. The yoga pose you want to do the least is probably the one you need to do the most.
Mhm.
And as you were saying, that you don't love yoga and it doesn't have to every day. The days that you don't want to do it the most, the days that you want to do it the least are probably the days that you want to do it the most. And I've really tried to get better about that. And admittedly, I am not disciplined about it, and I need to be better, because I feel so much better. Everything's better. Everything's better.
Yep.
Everything's better.
Yep.
So for me, it's the discipline.
Yep. Yeah. And
And
it's the same with the meditation quote. If when you don't think you have time to meditate, meditate longer. It's the same
yeah,
concept.
I
It's
love that.
we're resistant to what we need
I
sometimes.
know. I know. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because it keeps us safe. It keeps us the same. It keeps us comfortable
In the known.
in the known. And I mean, I've really been working on the future self, stuff of like evolving. And I mean, I have every kind of coach you could imagine myself. We all need people in our corner. We can't do it alone. Things I'm not great at, I find somebody.
Yep.
Like,
Love
and
it.
this is why I'm finally figuring out these are the things I'm good at that I love. I could do this 24/7. Like,
Yep.
I am
Great.
so lit up by this stuff, and I want to help other women. And meanwhile, I have other people that are helping me do the stuff that I'm not as
Mhm.
disciplined as you said about,
Mhm.
or knowledgeable or whatever it might be. But I think the resistance is truly because these things are going to help us. They're going to help us grow. They're going to help us evolve. They're going to help us be better. And sometimes, whether, again, this could come from anywhere, it could come from our heart being closed, our body, or our mindset. Any one place could be driving. And it's to keep us the same.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Because what happens if I finally get everything that I want?
Mhm.
What happens if I finally do get to live this life where everything's in alignment and I'm manifesting abundance on the side of a mountain? You know what I mean? Like it's safer and it's known and this is what I'm used to and this is who I am and this is my identity. So I don't have time for yoga. I'm too busy or whatever. So tell me about the soul blueprint. And then I'm gonna tell you maybe after we record about this soul thing that I did at Canyon Ranch.
Okay.
So go ahead, tell me about the
Love it.
soul blueprint.
Okay. Okay. So, Soul Blueprint, it is a culmination of, so basically my session is I give you a little bit of a pre-assessment just to get a little bit of intel on how you're showing up in the world right now. And our session is a 45-minute call virtually where I ask you some questions to assess how your energy is. I use chakras. So the chakra system, which I'm obsessed with. I literally have I'm gonna just move my screen over here. Can you see all those crystals on the floor?
Yeah.
That's my rainbow. I put a post up earlier. I have a workshop tonight that actually we're going into this stuff. I have all of my chakra stones like lined up. It's beautiful. So I work with chakras. I work with which is kind of like our energy
Mhm.
centers.
Mhm.
I work with Ayurveda, which is
Mhm.
more, it's the sister of yoga. It's more like the science of life. So I use kind of an intuitive assessment of how
Mhm.
you are showing up in your body Ayurvedically. And then I work with Enneagram as the personality persona.
So interesting. So I need to ask,
Yeah.
chakra,
Yep.
Ayurveda,
Yep.
and Enneagram. Do
Yep.
people do like, is this common? Because I think chakra, Ayurveda over here, woo woo,
Yeah.
Enneagram, corporate bullshit. That's how I think.
That's why I'm bringing it together. So I
Oh,
have
it's so
I have
cool.
a few other lenses to it because I'll always filter in a little depending on the person. So like if you're somebody who's done your Myers-Briggs and your Finder and your four tendencies,
Yeah.
great. I want to know which ones you've already done so we can kind of bring that into it. But what I'm trying to look at is like a holistic blueprint of you. And not as a label, not as a label. So this
Okay.
is the part that I'm having trouble communicating that'll take me to the next level once I get it down. Is this isn't just knowledge for you to know and go on about your day. This is knowledge to empower you. That authentic empowerment and transformation is this. That's what I give you in the session. I give you a chance to kind of bring together all the things of how you're showing up in the world. And then I help give you ways to find more alignment and balance because life is going to constantly pull us out of balance. And this isn't something you do one and done. I mean, you may, if you're someone who has a very disciplined and deep practice already, this may be just what you need. You might want to do something deeper around, coaching programs and retreats and whatnot. But essentially, this is kind of a 101 of like Nancy's blueprint. How is Nancy showing up right now? What are her energy centers? Like what's off balance? How is she wired? And then what are some really simple, and I love that you just talked about this with your yoga practice the other day with Reacher. It's all about simple, realistic. I'm going to go right into rituals because that's part of it that you can do anywhere, anytime. We're all busy. And I think that's also the resistance I get right away. I don't have time. You don't understand. And I hate when people say this to me, but it happens a lot. You don't understand. I have three kids. And I'm like, okay, I am the most like pack your day person in the world. Whether I had three kids or not, it doesn't matter. I'm somebody who's going to constantly stay busy. That's how I am. And we can always find an excuse. It's the dog. It's my husband. I have to get up too early. There's I work too hard. Oh my gosh, we can find all the excuses in the world. The resistance there is you don't want to prioritize yourself.
100%.
And this 10 minutes,
10
you can
minutes.
go longer. You can go longer, but I try to break it down like 10 to 15 minutes every day. And I give you a 5-day ritual. Obviously, you can go a lot longer, but this is just a start because I want you to experience just enough that you start to feel these shifts. And it's a personalized ritual. It's a combination of a little bit of breath work, a little bit of movement, a little bit of reflection. So again, the mind, heart, body, bringing it all together and working on some things that are really targeted to shift where you're out of balance. So if your root chakra is really out of balance, you're not feeling safe, you're not feeling supported, you're not feeling grounded, then we start there. And then we do this 5-day ritual. I send you a little video giving you some tips, showing you how to do things. They're simple, but just to make sure again, it's fully clear. And then I give you some vibes. I give you some suggestions. I can give you add-ons like crystals if you want to work with those. I mean, my name is Crystal after all. I had to step into this at some point, so it just kind of feels funny. But I was a little resistant to this, as we know, with my strategic corporate head. But my name's Crystal. I had to at some point build that up.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So,
I knew, I knew, by the way, I knew you were going to step into all of this.
so we can filter in some vibes around crystals and
Mhm.
candles and music and mantras. And
Right.
I can make it spiritually heavy and I can make it super light. So depending on what your comfort level
Love
is,
this.
I'm about to wrap up my 300-hour Kundalini yoga. I have some deep spiritual stuff that's going to be coming too, but that's going to be like a different level. That's not for everyone, and I totally get it. I'm not trying to push that. I'm trying to make a really simple, personalized blueprint profile for you so you can kind of better understand how you are showing up holistically and what are some simple ways to make you feel more in alignment, bring you back into balance, feel a little bit better in your mind, body, soul, slow down a little bit, find that sacred time for you.
I love
And if you
this.
break up the 10 minutes, I just did this with my sister. I left her a video today. I'm like, I know she can't do 10 to 15 minutes first thing in the morning. It's impossible for her with 2 children and a cat and her husband already at work and getting to work herself. I was like, fine, 2 minutes in the morning, couple minutes at lunchtime,
Mhm.
couple minutes before bed. You
Right.
can break.
I love it. I love this. I love this. Okay, so tell me about the because one of the things I love about what you do is you focus a lot on rituals, and so do we, so do I, because I think those are incredibly powerful. Intentional rituals,
Yes.
intentional positive rituals, because we also have some rituals that aren't as positive. Anyway, so tell me about this Wednesday midweek. I love that. Like I'm signing up for this. So tell me what it is.
So it's a similar approach. I'm blending. It's a 30-minute session, first of all. So it's totally accessible. It's at 11 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays, which I know for my corporate friends, I see you. I know that might not be possible. I'll likely offer something else, later in the day or earlier in the morning at some point. But for right now, for those who have the flexibility or can maybe take a lunch break, it's been working well. It's free, totally free. It's every week, Wednesday at 11. It's on Zoom. My links I know we'll show them out somehow. And it's 30 minutes. You can show up on video. You can show up with no video, no audio. You can show up while you're walking outside. You can show up while you have a kid in your hand. You can show up while you're in the car. Just be careful if you're driving. Maybe don't close your eyes. Ideally, though, if you can carve out 30 minutes to have a little bit of a quiet moment, that's the ideal. But again, it's meant to be accessible and realistic. So the 30 minutes, I do a quick download in the beginning. I love themes. I think that's why I like rituals because it's kind of a theme, right? And it's an intention. My favorite thing in life, I think, and even when I used to teach spin classes all the time, was the theme. Like, what's the theme? What's the intention? What's the energy I'm bringing today? What's the playlist? What's the vibe, right? So the 30 minutes, I start with an intention and a theme based on astrology, what's happening with the planets and the full moon, what's happening with the seasons, what's happening collectively. So I do a little bit of a download just like on the energy around us. And then I bring us into a little bit of grounding, some breath work, simple. We're not doing 20 minutes of like intense breath work, simple, little meditation and visualization, gentle movement. And then we do some reflection. And you can either do that on your own, write it down on in your head, or share. I love sharing. This is something I have a lot of resistance to. And this is where I'll type myself. I'm an Enneagram 5, conscientious, analytical. Myers-Briggs, I'm the INTP, which is the kind of architect. Again, a lot of head stuff, a lot of introversion, a lot of withdrawn. So guess what my superpower is in really bringing out my growth is connecting, is stepping outside of my comfort, is stretching that like growth. So for me, I have found so much power, empowerment through sharing. It doesn't have to be everything, but I do open up at the end of the session for those that want to maybe share what's coming up or an intention they want. The accountability is huge. And I've been doing these full moon circles every month for a while at my yoga studio. And that's where I've really seen that in action. The sharing portion is so powerful. Knowing you're not alone, more,
Exactly.
more times than not, we can be in the most different places in our life on paper, but we tend to be facing the same or similar challenges internally. And I
Mhm.
think when we express that and we articulate it, we can all level up together. And that's
Right.
what I think is really beautiful about it.
I love it. That's it's like a little bit of a thrive Hyvy thing to do. Like maybe maybe I'll put it out to the whole thrive hive. That's not a bad idea, right? Great way to
Yeah.
start. That's
Yeah.
great.
Love it.
That's great.
Love it. Yeah.
Okay, so before I let you go, because I love this conversation. So tell me, or tell the Thrivesters, that's the new name, the Thrivesters. I used
Sure.
to call everybody the Podsters. I'm going Thrivesters. Tell me about what is your definition of to thrive, living a life where you thrive.
Hmm. Honestly, it's such a ladder to everything I do. It's the authentic empowerment. It's the mind, body, soul connection. It's like the growth mindset, having clarity, living your inner truth.
Great.
Yeah, it's being charged up like energetically for me. I always look at kind of the six prongs of wellness around, our mental, body, social, or intellectual, social, physical, financial. I'm forgetting the other two, but the wellness prongs. And it's when you're thriving, like they're not always going to be a 10 out of 10, right? They're not always going to be 10 because we're always going to like want a little bit more. But when none of them are at 0. None of them are like below a 5, but like you're thriving when like they're pretty charged up. Like you feel balanced in most areas of your life. There's always one area where there's a bigger growth opportunity. I think that's just the way life is. But you're energetically aligned and kind of fired up, right? Like you're not feeling depleted.
Clear mind. I love this. Okay. And not depleted. Yeah, I love it. So I looked it up. It's physical, the six prongs, because
I was
we are
like,
the experts here.
I
Six
know.
prongs, physical, emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual, and environmental. That's interesting. Was
Yep.
environmental one of yours?
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of like the physical things outside. So like your home, and the thing too, I think we sometimes forget this. I don't want to go into another deep dive. I know we're trying to wrap up, but like we sometimes only worry. It's not just the mind body. It is environment. Like what we consume affects us. Like this toxicness that we worry about what we eat. We worry about how we move. We also have to like how much do you watch the news? How much do you watch dramatic like action pat like you're pulling a lot of my stuff. I didn't even bring up the word nervous system because
This is
it's something
huge.
that
Yes.
it's getting more trendy right now, but it's a big part of actually the Kundalini yoga that I do. It's all about balancing the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of my rituals, a lot of, the programs I offer, the things are going to do that. I'm
Oh, it's great.
sprinkling in Kundalini because it's not for everybody. And I think the training that I've done I was like so happy I did it. It was just one of those things like I knew I needed to do it. Again, didn't know what I was doing with it. Didn't know what. I
Yep.
just
That's okay.
Kundalini
Yeah.
yoga, my
Yeah.
favorite yoga out of all the yogas. And the 300-hour training dove into Ayurveda and Enneagram and personal development and the nervous system.
Really?
A lot of the things that I was already kind of brewing. So
Yep.
it was like, oh my gosh, it brought it all together for me. But essentially, there are so many amazing things that you can do to nervous system and balance everything. And again, it doesn't take having to go to an hour yoga class every day or this and that. And honestly, the best thing is to be consistent and do a 10-minute ritual 7 days a week,
Yeah.
then do nothing. And then like on the weekend, go, binge the workouts. You're better being consistent and doing small things. We tend to want to be all or nothing. Think, we think of a light switch, it's on or off. And I like to think of a dial. It's a dial. Sometimes you're dialing it up, sometimes you're dialing it down.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, will you come back and talk to us about nervous system, balancing your nervous
Yep,
system
I would
and
love
nervous system resets?
I would love
I
to
have
do
to, I used to think this was nonsense until, or not nonsense, but I'm like, whatever, my nervous system. Okay, fine. Right.
that.
Until I'm like, wow, okay, this is really a thing. Like, this is really a thing. I'm activated and my adrenals are on overdrive and it's not fun. So
And I
that's the
think it's the
opposite
world
side.
today too. It's not, like a lot of the things that are coming up now didn't exist like when our, a generation or two behind. It's just it's going to get more prominent. So that's why I had this calling to dive into it because it's going to be even more important as we all like grow together. The next generations are living on their phones. My niece is already chatting with me on like a kid's phone at 7 years old. It's just like it's different times. They're better at technology than we'll ever be.
Right.
And that can be great, but I just think we're going to have to do more as a community collectively to center, to detox from our phones, to detox from information. We're on overload, all of us. We're too much information coming in. We all have anxiety at this point. We all have anxiety. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just a
Collective.
matter of how
Yeah.
much you're managing it
Yeah.
or resetting that. So the nervous system is so important, so important.
I love it. I love it. I actually just listened to Jay Shetty, who I don't usually listen to. He had a great podcast about anxiety. He's like, you're not anxious. You will always have anxiety.
Yeah.
Always. There's nobody among us who doesn't.
Yeah.
It's how do you respond to it and how do you react to it, right? So I thought
Yep.
that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So, Crystal, if one of the Thrivesters does not want to look in the show notes and wants to find you, where can they find you? What's the easiest way to find you on Instagram? Because I know you have a couple of accounts and you're kind of transitioning one and going to the next one.
So at the moment, it's CS Ellis 15 on
So
Instagram.
CSLS15 on Instagram or
Yep.
Thrivesters, you can in the search bar look up Crystal Ellis, Crystal space Ellis. That'll bring you to both.
Yep.
And what about your website?
And my website is crystalclear-wellness.com.
Crystal Clear, Crystal clear dash wellness.com. All of the
Yep.
links are in the show notes. Crystal's coming back to talk to us about regulating your nervous system. I have a whole list of things for you to come back and talk to us about, by the
Yep.
way.
I can't wait. So
I
excited.
am so incredibly proud of you. Oh, your retreats. I want you to come back and talk about your retreats. So
Sure.
proud of you. This was so fun. Hopefully you had fun.
Oh, so fun. I could do this all day with you, Auntie.
Thrivesters, hopefully you had some fun and we will be back with Crystal soon. So
Can't
until
wait.
then, go out and thrive like you mean it.